We don't take no L.
What up, everybody? Welcome to LaFlare Radio Week 4. BT LaFlare here with my partners Dee Greatest.
Yes, sir.
And Hot Rod LaFlare.
What it do?
We got all the latest sports and hip-hop news over the past week. We're not going to talk about NBA today, though, with the season starting on Tuesday. We've got a special NBA season preview coming to you guys on Monday, so make sure to keep an eye out for that one. So today we're going to start off talking about the NFL. Our first topic, Jerry Jones, owner of the Dallas Cowboys. After kneeling with the team a couple weeks ago before the anthem, he stated earlier this week that all of his players must stand for the anthem, and if they don't, they won't be able to play. We'll start with Dee Greatest. What are your original thoughts?
Clown. Jerry Jones is a clown. I would never watch another Dallas Cowboy game until he's out. And I'm so serious about that. You know, I used to have a running joke with my friends who are Cowboys fans and I would tell them, you know, the Patriots is the real America's team. The Cowboys don't even have red, white, and blue. But now I'm serious about that. There is no democracy. You just ruined that. For you to get on your knees, smiling, cheesing like you're doing the right thing, what are you on your knees for? The whole message from the beginning was to go against police brutality against African Americans. For you to tell your players to get off your knees, stand on your feet, and support that flag is basically saying support genocide. That's how I see it. That's how I see it. Because to me, there's no other way to justify it. You're choosing tradition over annihilation. I don't agree with that. You're choosing the military, and I love the military, you know, but, you know, it's not choosing the military because that's not what it was about. You're on your knees to respect the military because originally Cap sat down. And nobody noticed for a good minute until a couple people figured out later on. It's not like it was anything new. It wasn't like it was his first time doing this. But even so, you're saying the lives that are lost outside the country is more important than the lives that are lost inside the country. So now my question is, whose life is more important? I got you. Our lives is not that important. See, this is why we say Black Lives Matter. I forgot who said it, but somebody said Black Lives Matter is an abbreviation really for Black Lives Matter too. It's not saying other lives don't matter. We just want our respect. We just want our value. But for you to say other lives matter more to us, because that's what you're saying. If you're telling them stand up or you don't get your money, you don't get to play, you don't get to do your livelihood. For you to choose a piece of cloth, for you to choose tradition over lives, you're a clown. And I don't respect you.
Rod?
I'm not happy, but we called it out before that what they did a couple weeks ago when the president called them SOBs for kneeling, and they all kneeled that next following day.
Mm-hmm.
It was all phony. It was all just for show, just for PR, just for sponsors and for the money. It wasn't really for the right reasons, and it shows now. And Jerry Jones, of all people, the one that was on Monday Night Football on his knees with his whole team, for him to say this now, it just shows how phony that whole thing was.
And even though Jerry Jones is the one that's been more publicly vocal about it, the owners collectively right now are working on a rule that would require all players to stand for the anthem before the game. So it's not just Jerry Jones. I will say this about Jerry Jones. The fan base around that Texas team and the way that Texas is, I could definitely see some fans making a big deal out of the fact that players are kneeling. If they were, Cowboys player has yet to kneel, actually, a single time. So I'm sure that pressure has been there even before we've heard about it, that they can't do it.
If I'm Dak Prescott, and with him being someone of color, I would knee and see if they would bench me, because they need him more than anyone on that team. And at the same time, for the right reasons, though, like not just to protest against the president or Jerry Jones, but for the right reason, kneel, and at the same time show that it's not just about just disrespecting the flag. Like there's a bigger, larger issue going on in the country, and that's the reason why players are kneeling. And they're kneeling because they have the platform to kneel. And in the NFL rules, it says players should stand. They don't have to stand, and that's where they're going to try and change that rule to force players to stand. But they're the ones with the platform. That's why you don't see anyone else kneeling during the national anthem, because the average person doesn't have the platform that an NFL or NBA player has.
And the sad thing about it is, between President Pence going to the Colts game, a complete publicity stunt, he knew they were going to kneel when he went. It costed hundreds of thousands or a couple $100,000 for him to make that trip and go to that game. Money that could have been donated and to help the communities, they spent on a publicity stunt to kind of bring attention back to kneeling. As the last week, there's a lot of other news that sort of drowned it out for a little while. But like you said, and like we said before, the attention hasn't been on the real issue. The attention is on disrespecting the flag. And I think that's what they want it to stay on. Because if we actually get down and look at the real issue, it makes a hell of a lot of sense why these guys are kneeling. But instead of focusing on the actual issue, it's easier to argue against what they're doing and not argue against why they're doing it.
Yeah, and it's funny that he picked, of all games, the Colts and 49ers game, the team that pretty much started it. I mean, Kaepernick was on the 49ers last year, and him and their safety, Eric Reed, were the first two to kneel and really bring attention and awareness on the issue. And I just find it funny and ironic that he picked the 49ers and Colts game to go to and use this PR stunt.
Yeah, it was such a transparent stunt. It's just unbelievable. You would think that they'd put a little more thought into something like that, not make it so obvious. But nevertheless, we'll transition into a very related topic. Jameel Hill was suspended for 2 weeks from ESPN this week for violating the company's social media guidelines. In a statement earlier this week, ESPN said, Jameel Hill has been suspended for 2 weeks for a second violation of our social media guidelines. She previously acknowledged letting her colleagues and company down with an impulsive tweet. In the aftermath, all employees were reminded of how individual tweets may reflect negatively on ESPN, and that such actions would have consequences, hence this decision. The tweets that got her suspended were in relation to what Jerry Jones has said about players kneeling. She was talking about, well, the tweet said, or how about not patronizing the advertisers who support the Cowboys? You can watch and do that, right? This play always works. Change happens when advertisers are impacted. If you feel strongly about JJ's statement, boycott his advertisers. Pretty similar to what J. Cole had gone on Twitter and said weeks before. I think it's a fair call to action, but you also have to consider that she is employed by ESPN, and her Twitter isn't as much as a personal account as it is a reflection of ESPN. When she says things, people look at her as an employee of ESPN. They don't always look at her as an individual. If she were to have a separate Twitter account that was personal and private, it might be a little bit different. But it's a real gray area. She should be allowed to say how she feels. She should be allowed to use her platform to extend her views. What are your thoughts? We'll start with Dee Greatest.
I don't think it'll be any different, BT, because this is the world of social media. Somebody could have easily screenshotted what she would have said on a private account, put it on the internet, same actions would have happened. People get bunked every day for their private business. All they got to do is just be exposed. At the same time, I completely agree with her, and that's why I started off saying I'm not watching any more Cowboy games. I'm not sure who his advertisers are, but I'm gonna research. But it's you're right. They look at her as an ESPN employee. They look at Colin Kaepernick as a football player. That's the issue. We are not our jobs. We're African Americans. And for example, when we have these issues with the police, they don't ask your occupation. They look at you. That should tell you right there that don't matter. But you know what? ESPN had to do it. Criticizing Trump is easy. You have a fair amount of people that criticize Trump. So it's easy to either cover up or support or just stay, because, it's such a love him, hate him type of idea, But when it comes to attacking somebody's money, especially somebody who helps make money with ESPN because of these TV contracts or whatever, and Jerry Jones, I know he's huge when it comes to ESPN making money. This partnership, that's a no-no. That's a no-no. You don't touch the paper. So they had to, or else the NFL owners was going to look at them like, maybe we should look at FS1. And FS1 is hungry for some games. Last time I checked, they had, Big Three, some MMA fighting, and what else? Name a nationally broadcast sports event on FS1.
Well, one thing they do have is baseball. They get a lot of baseball games, but
And
they're
have Fox.
slowly eating into that share. And ESPN has made some serious mistakes over the past couple years to really pull themselves back from. There was a time when you would think ESPN was too big to fail. When you thought about sports TV, when you thought about sports entertainment, you thought about ESPN. But the things that they've done, the decisions that they've made in the past couple of years have really pulled them back from that. And you've got other players coming up on the internet that are eating away at that share, eating away at people's viewing time. And as time goes on, if ESPN continues to bring so much politics into sports as they have, they're going to have a serious issue, especially with more just real
Right.
networks, real organizations coming up and just saying what's real. They don't beat around the bush. They don't worry about the politics so much. They just say how they feel. And there are going to be some listeners that don't appeal to those different organizations based on what they put out, but they don't care. They want to find their niche, and they'll get their loyal viewers that'll stay with them. Meanwhile, those loyal viewers that go to these different networks aren't watching ESPN anymore.
Yeah, but how long? How long could anchors stay quiet? How long can they just ignore what's going on outside of sports, especially when it's coming into sports? How long could we just try to be the bigger person or stay professional, how they would say? In our history, a lot of work was done using sacrifice. A lot of us lost jobs or, done a lot to go through hell in order to make a point. Um, heck, Colin Kaepernick being blackballed from the NFL. I know what Jamel's doing. I know other networks probably don't even want to see her, don't even want to touch her. But at the same time, it's a risk that is worth it for the long term. I mean, Ali lost his title, was hated back then for his beliefs. We look at him now as the ultimate hero and the truth. And he was telling the truth. So to me, I think it's a struggle between career and community. And it looks like Jamel's making her choice. It's one that might hurt her financially, but she's going to die with some respect. Best believe.
Absolutely. And I don't think I look at Jamel Hill as sort of the sports entertainment equal to what Kaepernick had done.
Correct.
But in the same breath, I don't think she's going to get locked out the way Kaepernick is. I think that if she were to leave ESPN, somebody would pick her up pretty quick because of the fact that in sports entertainment, someone like her, a polarizing figure like that, is going to get views no matter what. So solely based on that and the traffic that she would bring, the fans that she would bring to that specific network, I don't have a doubt someone will pick her up, and I think that's the reason that ESPN hasn't let her go.
It has to be a place where she could be unfiltered, though. What she's doing now couldn't work at ABC or FS1 or
It would
Fox.
be FS1. I think FS1 would pick her up as soon as she signs those papers. Or
Really?
As soon as she leaves. I mean, they let Shannon Sharp speak his mind and speak how he feels on Undisputed, and I think he does a great job of it, and he keeps it clean and he keeps it unfiltered as well, and he speaks his mind, especially about this whole thing going on and how they're doing it or how they were kneeling for the wrong reasons, and how what Kaepernick stood for at the beginning isn't what we're talking about now. And I feel like if you were to pair her and him on that show, that would draw a huge crowd away from ESPN, especially with the mistakes that they've been doing in recent times. And this whole thing really shows, honestly, how powerful Trump's words can be, because he tweets about this stuff and it forces a big company like ESPN to make this move. Or he tweets about how players should stand, and at first you have owners, powerful owners like Jerry Jones, kneeling, and then there's reports about how after that happened, Trump was calling Jerry Jones and telling him not to do that again. And now look, 2 weeks later, now he's banning players from kneeling. So honestly, this is just showing how powerful Trump's words can actually be, and that's kind of scary for what can go on in this country.
Yeah, but my thing about that with FS1, like, I love Shannon, but to me, Shannon has more comfort than Jamel, because people were really excited with him because he didn't have a history of, as a sports analyst or commentator, of going off the wall like Jamel is having now. He's a Pro Football Hall of Famer. People love him just out of that, you know. But when you look at guys like Skip, who basically has challenged the same fights, he doesn't get that much love as much as Shannon does, or Jamel, or more so on the ball as Jamel, because these are not athletes.
Yeah, but
They don't
Skip's
get the same
also
passes.
a white man, so he can talk about it and fight
That's
for it as
also
much
correct.
as he wants, but he would never fully understand how it would be to be like that. So someone of us, our color, wouldn't relate to him as much, but we respect him because he's fighting for us.
No, that's correct. But at the same time, looking at both of them, I just use them because they're linked together. Then you bring Jamel into the equation. She's not a white man, not an athlete, is a woman. An African American woman who has history of challenging the president and America's team's owner. That is way more of a hot rod and can get a lot can draw a lot more hate than those guys. I feel like FS1 would be very, very caution to bring somebody like that. I mean, hell, they get calls every day trying to get rid of Jason Whitlock. And he's actually fighting the fight that's against ours.
Yeah.
I said it,
Jason
Jason.
Whitlock's ridiculous.
So with somebody that's actually on our side, the FS1, generally, if you look at everybody's collective unit, I don't feel like it's pro us. That's just my opinion. I could be wrong, but from what I've seen, I don't think so. Jamel, who is, I don't even think she fits that culture.
I see that. I get what you're saying.
I feel like it would be better for her to go somewhere like HBO or XM Radio.
Or even start, with the right people. She could start something of her own.
But
Like
I feel like if
LaFlare.
she were to go to HBO or XM Radio, it would kind of, her platform would die off. ESPN is such a big platform now compared to those that whatever she's fighting would die off.
Well, I think
In my opinion,
it would be a sacrifice. She'd have to sacrifice a little bit of that platform to be able to say what she wants to say and then hope that she can build something new wherever she goes. And I think that if she's going to move on from ESPN, no matter what, there's going to be some sort of a sacrifice in that platform.
Yeah. So honestly, you gotta go with best option available at that point. But what you can't do is fade out completely. It will hurt us so much if she was just going. So I would take those chances with those.
I don't think she will. She's made it pretty clear that she's not going to be deterred by whatever is thrown against her.
For sure.
So I'm sure after she gets back, I don't think she'll change at all. I think she'll just keep doing what she does, and if she ends up being fired for it, she'll find a new place and continue to fight the good fight. But moving on to a still related topic, and probably the most obvious blackballing of Kaepernick yet, the Tennessee Titans, their starting quarterback Marcus Mariota, who's pretty comparable to Kaepernick in his play, is hurt. He hurt his hamstring, and they need a quarterback. They decided to sign Brandon Weeden instead of Kaepernick. And when asked about it, Coach Mike Mularkey said that he's not aware if there is any interest in Kaepernick in the first place, which seems kind of hard to believe to me, considering how comparable he is to Mariota in his style of play. He tried to say that Weeden knew the system already, so he didn't want to bring in somebody that he would have to teach the entire system. Is that a fair argument? What do you think, Rod?
I think it's baloney. Kaepernick and, like you were saying, Kaepernick and Mariota have pretty similar games. They're mobile quarterbacks. Mariota may be more accurate as a quarterback, but Kaepernick has a stronger arm and is probably more mobile than Mariota. And there are reports that Kaepernick's camp actually reached out to the Titans right after they knew that Mariota was going to miss some time, and the Titans weren't interested. So this just shows that he's being blackballed. And honestly, it would be a surprise to me if Kaepernick got signed to any team
At this point.
at this point, honestly, because they try to find an excuse. Like every time there's a different excuse as to why Kaepernick isn't signed. And now that there's no excuse, I don't even know what to say. I don't even know.
The only positive I could say is that Kaepernick is not in the South. That's the only thing I can say.
Tennessee
Yeah.
it's a tough place, man. Like, they are very strong-footed in their views there.
Mm-hmm.
And I think another reason why they were afraid to bring on Kaepernick is because the Titans are a team that can be really good, but they've struggled. And had they bring on Kaepernick and he actually play well, they would have a lot of trouble with having to go back to Mariota and keeping Kaepernick as like the starting quarterback, and that's where they would have even larger backlash.
Well, you look how Kaepernick got his start. Alex Smith got hurt with the 49ers, and he stepped in, did a fantastic job, led them to the Super Bowl. he could do something similar to that with a Tennessee Titans team. I mean, obviously not as many pieces are in place as that 49ers team. They had a really good defense, but he's got his old college teammate, Rashard Matthews, at receiver, so there's a connection there. What a good fit it would have been for him to go to the Titans. It's just really disappointing to see this continue to happen over and over again. And like you said, there's just no excuse anymore. So moving on to a new topic, the Giants, man. Wow, what a rough go for the Giants this season. Nobody could have expected it to go this bad. On Sunday, they had 4 receivers go down, including their top 2 receivers, Odell Beckham and Brandon Marshall, both now out for the rest of the season. What do you think?
Sterling Shepard is not exactly healthy either.
Yeah, he's day to day.
Yeah.
He's killed me in fantasy last week. But, oh my God, the Giants. You know, I didn't see this happening. I mean, as a Patriots fan, I have no sympathy. But as a part-time football fan, I kind of feel bad because seeing a franchise that's so historic just be on no type of legs. They're not even on their last legs. They're on knees now. It's just sad. Think about Eli, a former 2-time NFL Super Bowl champion, which hurts for me to say. And I haven't been impressed with him for years now. That running game, where? Dog, like, they might as well call themselves the New York Browns.
Yeah, for this season, the thing with the Giants is, and even on draft night, there were a few analysts that were saying, oh, with their first round pick, they went and got a new tight end. They went and did all of this work on the offense, but they never really addressed the offensive line. I think that is what's killing their season.
Agreed.
Football games are won in the trenches. Like, you can have all the best receivers, all the best DBs, all the best linebackers, all the best running backs, but if there's no O-line or D-line, or your offensive line is a lot weaker than the defensive line that you're playing, or vice versa, then that'll really show in the games. And I think that's really what's hurting the Giants right now. And with Eli not having no time to get the ball to these receivers, he's forcing it, and he's putting the ball in places that these receivers don't normally catch. And when they come down, and that's what's really getting these receivers hurt. And I just think they need to really just call off this season and just reset next year and see what they can do and bounce back in that, especially in that division. That's a really tough division to play in.
That's tough for them, though, because every year Eli Manning gets a little older, and they're going to have to pick up a new quarterback here pretty soon if that's the path that they want to take.
I was just about to say that.
Yeah, I think this might be his last season there, too, depending on the contract situation.
Last season should have been his last season, man. They're just hoping. Him and Ben Roethlisberger, they're both looking awful, man.
Well, that's actually a pretty good opportunity to transfer into our next topic. What a tough weekend for Big Ben and the Steelers. They have the firepower. They've got a solid defense, but, man, they just can't put it together, especially the play of Big Ben, but also the play calling, considering Jaguars' defense is much more a pass-strong defense as they are a run-strong defense. I forget what the exact numbers were, but they were in like the bottom 8 teams of the league when it comes to run defense going into that game, and they were in the top 10 when it comes to pass defense. Yet, Steelers coach Mike Tomlin just refused to give Le'Veon Bell the ball.
Yeah, Le'Veon only got 20 carries, and Big Ben threw the ball 55 times. I mean, that probably played into the fact that they were down. But at the same time, if they established the run and really helped Big Ben out, then he wouldn't have had as bad as a showing. But at the same time, he's looked rough. He's looked rough since last season towards the end. I didn't even think he played that well in the playoffs. They squeaked by a hurt Miami Dolphins team, and they got to the NFC Championship, or they got to the AFC Championship, and really stunk there too. So Big Ben, he's contemplating retirement all off season. I think he should have just stuck with it.
Yeah, he even said after the game, maybe I don't have it anymore. And if he's questioning himself this early in the season, I don't think that looks too good for the rest of the season.
He should go right now, honestly. Those were the weakest comments I ever heard from a quarterback in my life. I have never seen a quarterback who's supposed to be a leader like how he portrayed himself to be a couple weeks ago with the Antonio Brown situation, to be so pathetic. Like, you just were so defeated, dude. Like, if I'm a receiver, if I'm a running back, if I'm on the O line, how could I play with that? It just smelled Cutler esque. I just can't. Anyway, let me get to this game. You know, doing some research because I do fantasy football. I had Ben on my bench before I dropped him because it was always a good Ben versus bad Ben, which is more so going to home games versus away games, right? Away game. No, it was a home game, and I'm looking at these numbers, man. 9 points. Uh, from that offense, that talent, 9 points. The Jaguars had 5 interceptions, 2 touchdowns. And we already know that that defense is suspect on Steelers. It traditionally is, us being our age, we don't come from the steel curtain. We come from the offensive firepower of Pittsburgh, as we know. Outside of Troy Polamalu, that's my guy. But at the same time, it's like, for what we've seen recently, they've been offensive heavy. 9 points at home to an up and coming. Man, and with those comments, not only would Ben go, I love Mike Tomlin, but I'm looking at him like, look, man, you're a great coach. I'm not saying you should retire, but maybe it's time for a change of scenery as well. Because we know the same messages in the locker room eventually get stale. They got a lot of thinking to do. And I said last week, they can win any game, they can lose any game.
Yeah,
It just
definitely.
proves my point.
Well, the Jaguars have a pretty solid team. I would agree that they're up and coming, but they're almost at that point of fruition. We talked about the Bills last week as a team that has really come a long way, and now they're seeing what they've put in years in the past sort of come to a forefront. Now this week, let's take a look at the Jaguars. Do you guys think that they have the ability to possibly be a playoff contender? Can they continue to play at the level that they've been playing at behind this really elite defense and then offense that has started to roll a little bit behind Fournette and Blake Bortles?
I would say that they're contenders only because of the division that they're in. They're in the same division as the Texans, the Colts, and the Titans. The Titans and the Colts are really struggling right now as they're having quarterback issues, not playing-wise, but injury-wise. The Texans were having quarterback issues in the terms of they were just waiting till Deshaun Watson was ready, and man, does he look ready. And I think that it's going to be between those two teams, and it all depends on who can really just finish off the year hotter. And they have one more game as well. So if the Jags beat the Texans, they'll have a 2-game lead in terms of head-to-head. So if they even ended up in a tiebreaker, the Jags would have that. So the next game that they play against each other, that's going to be a big game.
Tough for the Texans losing J.J. Watt. He's a very big part and anchor of their defense. Deshaun Watson and that offense is rolling, though, so it'll be interesting to see if they can compensate for that loss.
I still will have the Jags above Texans, honestly. I've never been a big, I wouldn't say supporter, but I never had a lot of faith in Houston. It seems like it's always something that holds them back. Always. Something so random. It just demolishes the team. To me, that's a team that they need everything to go right. So until then, I'm looking at the Jags. Playoff contention, yeah, I see that. Yeah, defense is too elite to deny. But when we start talking about title contention, I still feel like they need maybe a year or two of more experience before that could go around. But man, they are lucky they're in that division because they're gonna get a lot of experience that a lot of up and coming teams probably weren't gonna get. So we'll see how it goes.
So a couple more short topics to discuss in sports before we transition into hip hop. Dolphins offensive line coach Chris Forrester, and the video he sent a Las Vegas model in which he was seen snorting a white powdered substance. It really looked like cocaine. Some people are trying to argue that it might not be, but needless to say, he resigned Monday morning after the video was released Sunday night. That's pretty crazy, pretty ridiculous. You'd like to think that it's not something that happens with NFL coaches, but who knows how many NFL coaches are out there exhibiting that kind of behavior. They don't get the attention that the athletes do, so they don't really get put on blast in such a way, but you would hope that they'd be held at the same standards that the athletes are held at. So at least the Dolphins acted very quick after the video was released. It wasn't very long before he resigned. I'm sure that if he hadn't resigned, he would have been let go.
Yeah.
But wow, what a crazy video. What a crazy thing to happen. Just the NFL this year, like we said before, it's just crazy. It's wild.
I was laughing my butt off. I'm not even gonna lie to you, because it's so ironic that it came from a coach in Miami. You know, I mean, let's keep 100. Like that's what they're famous for. The coke, well, alleged coke. You know, distribution, and it just fit. The story was just perfect. Anyway, to actually be a little serious, it's unfortunate. Yeah, that resigning thing. Sure, we'll call it that. But he was on his way out. I feel bad for the guy, like, cause right before the video, he was really talking to his girl, and I don't understand how sniffing a line of coke was supposed to be somewhat romantic, whatever. I don't know what kind of relationship they're in, but I would break away from that, bruh. But
well, she was, I guess, she was like a stripper or something in Las Vegas, and she was originally paid to be with him, and then they sort of formed a relationship, but she was the one that put out the video.
right.
And she said that she was basically just his cocaine platter. So,
I have no idea what that means.
and I guess he has like,
I have never heard of anything like that.
that's more of a mistress. Like he has an actual girlfriend or maybe even a wife. I'm not sure, but she's not like his
Yeah,
public
but she was
spouse.
his cocaine platter. Like I've never heard. That's new to me.
Maybe he sniffed lines off of her body. I don't know.
Hey, that happens.
It happens.
See, I've heard of that, but not in that terms.
Anyway,
that's interesting.
we'll cut away from that. There's not much more to say there. The Cardinals this week, pretty interesting, traded for Adrian Peterson and cut Chris Johnson. Meanwhile, the Saints didn't really get much for him, just a conditional pick, but they had to deal him. Rod, you're a big Saints fan, so let's hear your thoughts on this.
At first, when the Saints decided to sign Adrian Peterson, I thought it was a great idea. But that's without knowing who they were going to bring in draft night. And they drafted this rookie from Tennessee called Alvin Kamara. And they've tried him out, and he's looked like he's a stud.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's one of the big reasons why Adrian Peterson didn't really get any carries. And they also had Mark Ingram, obviously, who was also an all-pro. Well, not all-pro. He was also a Pro Bowl running back. So that was really interesting. And with how the Saints have been the past few years, like they've been really one of the best offensive teams, like passing-wise. Drew Brees is one of the best quarterbacks of all time. So it was really interesting choice when they decided to sign AP, and it didn't work out. And they were smart for getting out of it now, because ever since the first game in Minnesota, he only had like 4 carries, and there was a huge media surge about it, and all the attention's just been on AP. They've won the last 2 games, but it's all been about, oh, AP only had this many carries, even though they've won those games. So I think it was smart by them to just cut bait and get a draft pick out of it. They could have just cut him and got nothing. So, I mean, at least getting a draft pick, maybe a low draft pick, but
The Cardinals have seriously struggled after the injury of David Johnson. They've got a couple of running backs that have potential. Kerwin Williams, Andre Ellington, kind of Eli Penny if you want to talk about him. But also, injuries to the left side of their offensive line have hindered these running backs from getting any sort of space as well. In their loss to the Eagles, 34-7 loss on Sunday, the team collectively ran for only 31 yards.
Jeez.
Do either of you guys think that Adrian Peterson can bring a spark to this team? Does he have that in him?
Unless he can block from the left side. No.
AP has a history of playing with bad offensive lines, though. He may not be 25-year-old Adrian Peterson, but with how the Cardinals are, they just need a guy just to get them some yards. Because Carson Palmer, even though he's old and Larry Fitz is old, well, the whole Cardinals team is just like a retirement home now. But if they could just get like 5 to 6 yards on the first 2 downs and just get third and shorts for Carson Palmer, then with the other receivers, they have really fast receivers and really good downfield threats. So just having those guys and just making AP like a threat or someone that defenses have to scout for and prepare for, that could help them in the long run. But I think they're out of that division. I think they just got AP just to get them. I think the Rams and the Seahawks are going to win that division.
Hey, but continue to sell those tickets, though. But I'm just thinking about from AP's perspective. I know he is happy to get out of New Orleans. After I saw him yell at Sean Payton at that first game, I knew it was over. I mean, we all knew. 'Cause that was just ridiculous.
Yeah.
Honestly, though, if I was a coach and a player yelled at me like that on national television, I'm not playing you much either because that's just flat out disrespectful. Anyway.
Especially a coach like Sean Payton.
Oh, yeah.
Offensive genius.
Yeah. Super Bowl champion, I believe. Something AP is not. Anyway, AP is probably going to be happy until David Johnson comes back because those other running backs that are there that you named, especially Andre Ellington, he could take their spots. But at the same time, you're not really playing for much now. I know it's early in the season, but come on. We see what's about to go down. So, hey.
I've always been surprised. I've had really high hopes for Arizona, like every year for the past couple of years, especially their defensive backfield is supposed to be something really special between Peterson and Tyrann Mathieu. But year after year, they continue to disappoint. So, yeah, like you said, I don't think they have much to play for. It'll be nice to see AP hopefully break out some big runs, and hopefully he'll be better in that situation, just having the opportunity to play more. So, that's it for sports for today. As I said earlier, we're going to have our NBA preview special coming for you guys on Monday, so be on the lookout for that. We'll be back in just a few to talk about hip-hop news over the past week.
We don't take no L. We don't take no L. We don't take no L.
Shake it, then it's all yours. Tell me that it's all mine. Let's do it again and run it right back. Girl, you're such a bad thing. I'm trying to love you a long time. I'd love to get to know you better. We should do it again and run it right back, yeah, yeah.
We don't take no L. We don't take no L.
I'ma need a cash first. Shake it, then it's all yours. Tell me that it's all mine. Let's do it again and run it right back. Girl, you're such a bad thing. I'm trying to love you a long time. I'd love to get to know you better. We should do it again and run it right back, yeah, yeah.
All right, welcome back. Talking about hip hop now. Over the past week, our first topic of the day, the Lil Pump tape. Lil Pump put out his first, they call it a mixtape, but it's kind of an album. It's pretty lengthy. And it's gotten some serious traction that a lot of people weren't expecting. I don't know if you guys have heard it. I gave it a listen. It's got some decent tracks on there, but overall, it's pretty monotonous. He's your typical SoundCloud rapper meets the modern mixtape rapper. The production is really, really, really bad. The beats are just these hype beats, but they hurt to listen to. They're all kind of the same, and the tracks just get so repetitive. I understand how it's appealing to some people that just like to listen to mindless music and pop zans and act crazy. Unfortunately, that number of people, that niche, seems like it's growing and is starting to dominate the industry. It's frustrating to see. He pairs pretty well with Smoke Perp, another up-and-coming rapper that is pretty similar to his style. As far as my taste goes, he's equally unlikable in his style. Couple tracks with some other good features. He got 2 Chainz on Iced Out, Chief Keef on Whitney, Gucci Mane on Youngest Flexer, and Lil Yachty on Back. Back, one of the more popular tracks of the album. I think that the best verse on the entire album, I think that the best verse on the track was the Gucci Mane verse, which was just like 4 lines. I think he outdid Pump's whole album with those 4 lines. It's pretty sad to see. But I don't know. Have you guys heard it? Do you guys have any opinions on it? Dee Greatest? You got any opinions on Lil Pump in general?
Man, nah, all them trash. Like, the only one I got respect for is that you named is Gucci and 2 Chainz. But outside of that, they all trash. All that's trash. Keith, I respect him for what he did back in the day, but his recent stuff has been trash. So you're in the trash category now. Just I don't. Y'all know me. I like lyricism. That's not appealing to me. But you know what is appealing to me? You guys need to check out that new Dame Dollar album, man. That Confirmed, it is legit. I will say this, Dame, he kind of reminds me like of how Jamie Foxx did his second album, where his first album was on the R&B tip, was more soulful, traditional, classic feel. But his second album was more so mainstream, fit the current culture, but it was still pretty good. Dame is about the same way. Better album between Letter O and Confirmed. Ooh. Honestly, I feel like there's the same level, but that's a good thing for Dame because Letter O was a really good album. But yeah, you know, I'm not into this new generation like that. I'm from it. But sometimes you gotta make the best moves for your career, and Dame trying to be relevant. Like with the song "Run It Up" with Wayne, he was spitting on a turn up track. It didn't fit great, but he's so talented on the mic that it still sounded decent, even though to me it was a failed experiment. I don't think it's gonna get a lot of club play, which is crazy that somebody can be able to do that. Dame is like legit the truth. But the intro, No Punches, oh my God. No Punches is better than anything he put on the Letter O. Oh my God. No Punches was crazy. And just going down. It's a 13 song album, so it's not too long. It's pretty good. But songs that I would recommend that No Punches most definitely. Don't skip. Play that Boss Life. One and Only. The Letdown was pretty good. Marshawn Lynch, Body Bag, and then the rest of them are pretty good as well. But those are the ones that are really the stars of the album. So please check out that Dame album.
I agree. I really like the Dame album too. I would also add Anomaly on there with 2 Chainz. I thought that was a pretty good track. I kind of have mixed feelings about Dame, just in the fact that I try to think of if Dame wasn't such a likable guy, if we didn't already know him, if he didn't have such a successful basketball career. I try to listen to his music as if that. And I definitely think he's a great rapper, a lot better than a lot of what we hear today. And I think he's got good flow and lyricism, but in the same breath, there's just something about his sound that doesn't stand out to me. I just feel like there's something about it that if he wasn't Damian Lillard, would it be as good as people think it is? And what also helps him is that he has the money to pay for these features and this outstanding production. I mean, the production on that album really brought him up. I thought the Letter O was a little bit better than this album just because this album was so similar to the Letter O. It was such a similar sound that it kind of sounded like you were hearing it again. So I wanted to hear something a little bit new. I wanted to see him progress a little more. And I'd really like to see him go, like, in on a track. I'd really like to see him go in and really spit, which is something that I've seen a little bit, but I don't think we've seen him take it to the top notch.
The thing with Dame, I have a lot of respect for him, and honestly, I don't care about his basketball career. When it comes to the mic, you're on the mic. This is what it is. You know me, I separate personal from what you are as an artist. He's legit, no bias, in my top 10 of new generation rappers. He is. Get close to the top 5, but not there yet. Dame's biggest issue, I'm sure you can agree to this, BT, he doesn't make a hit, He doesn't have that one song that is just, you could replay throughout the whole day. You could listen to this one song in the car all day. Like, people love Bodak Yellow. They could repeat the lyrics all the time. Like how Millie was back then when you heard that mother effer, I'm ill. That hit, that feel good. Dame spits great bars. He has great songs, but they're not timely. There's songs that it's like, oh, it was hot, but you're not trying to listen to it again. It's not attractive, but you respect the work.
Exactly. I think you really hit the nail on the head of what I was trying to say there. And it's not like he's going to stop rapping, so I'm definitely looking out for whatever is to come in the future. I'm going to replay this album a couple times. It's good music for sure. And yeah, like we said, he's got limitless potential, and definitely interesting to see what happens in the future as he puts a little more focus on rap as he has in the past year or so.
Yeah.
A couple more tapes that dropped this week that I want to talk about. One was the Belly album, Mumble Rap. I didn't expect much from it, but I went ahead and gave it a listen. And I just want to say that it's definitely Belly's best work. He's had a few songs that have really stuck out for him, that have got him sort of into the limelight. And now this was sort of something that he had to come out and do pretty well on. It's an absolute disgrace that they decided to use P.O.P. as the single for this album. That was the most trash track on the entire album. Such a you cringe. You cringe when you hear it. Just a terrible, terrible hook. I don't understand where you get this idea. Like, people are gonna like this. It's just garbage. Like, come on. And you decide to use this as the track that's supposed to build hype. Sorry. You use this as a track that's supposed to build hype for your album? Are you kidding me? But the rest of the album was good, and I'm just disappointed because people aren't going to listen to it because of that track. But he comes in on that Immigration to the Trap, and he comes in hard. And he's got the mumble rap song is good. Bobby Brown, he's got Pusha T on there and Alcantara. Pusha T is a really, really great feature that he brought in for that. I'm excited for Pusha T's next album. It seems like he's got progressively better. I'm going to tell you what, I hope you guys give that a listen. You guys that are listening, I hope you guys give it a listen too, because it's really a solid piece of work.
We'll just skip P.O.P.
You can skip track 10. P.O.P. is garbage.
I'm weak over here.
Did you guys hear?
Sorry for the viewers. We were, Dee Greatest and I were just
I'm telling
dying
you.
in the
laughing.
background holding it composed.
I'll tell you what, Dee Greatest and Rod, I want you guys to just listen to it. And I want to hear, we don't have to talk about it on here, but I want to hear what you guys have to say about it, because I honestly was surprised. I was pleasantly surprised. I think it's a solid piece of work for this guy.
Would you download it?
I would download it.
Okay.
I'm not lying.
Hey, if you download it, then it's
Yeah,
worth
I guess
the listen.
I'll listen to
Yeah.
it.
I mean, I would download it over Lil Pump, and I would download it over
I think I'd throw my phone
Damien?
away
that.
before.
No, it's close for me. I'm See, the thing is, I'm open to a lot of different things, so I like to have some versatility on my playlist. But as far as like everything that's dropped in the past month, this is up there.
I would end my Apple subscription before I download Lil Pump. I'm serious.
Yeah, I don't blame you.
Oh my god.
So the last tape
So this
I want
is-
to talk about, the NBA YoungBoy tape. It's a 7-track mixtape, kind of just coming in and addressing a lot of the issues. NBA YoungBoy has been pretty in the media the last couple months. One of his old friends, G Money, slept with his sister, and they had serious beef over that. And then G Money ended up getting killed, and he's gotten a lot of backlash for that. A lot of people have really blamed him, but at the same time, I think that things like that happen every day, and it's a sad reality. And I think that he's sort of moving past that, and he's got a lot of potential, and he's not one of these guys that is here and gone. After listening to AI YoungBoy and listening to this tape, I really feel like he's somebody that's here to stay.
Yeah, I believe that with this day and age of this new age rappers, there's a select few of guys that really have the potential to sort of change the narrative of where it's going, and I feel like NBA YoungBoy is one of them. I believe A Boogie with a Hoodie is another one, and then also our exclusive artist Action, I believe he's also one, and he's someone that you listeners are gonna hear a lot of in the future.
So that's all I really have to say about that. There's not a ton to say about it. It's just a 7-track mixtape, but if you're looking for something to listen to and you're interested in that kind of sound, if you heard AI YoungBoy and you liked it, I can guarantee that you'll like this mixtape as well. Now, Cardi B. Let's talk about her a little bit. She deserves it. #1 on Billboard now 3 weeks in a row, the only female artist to do so. Rod, you were really big on Bodak Yellow. What do you think? Does she have potential to continue this in the future, or is she a one-hit wonder?
That I'm not sure. I really would have to see how she does on her upcoming album that she has coming out, but she's gonna have a really tough time topping Bodak Yellow. I don't know if she can top Bodak Yellow. I think this is like her hit of her career. But at the same time, she's really made a huge name of herself and really turned herself into a celebrity with that. And she's really put herself in the conversation with, the next female artists like Nicki and so on. But I think she has a long way to go to catch where Nicki's at. But at the same time, she's really done with one song. She's done so much, and she can continue it if she continues to progress as an artist and really have some good features and really continue to keep her name in the spotlight for the right reasons.
Hey, Nicki's catchable, man. I'm just gonna tell you
She
right
is,
now.
but not with one hit song.
No. This is how I see it. Cardi, I don't think from a solo from a solo track perspective, nah, I don't think it's gonna be better anything as close to Bodak Yellow. But maybe with a feature with some other big time artist, maybe on the pop side, maybe probably, it's possible. This is how I see it. I feel like she's gonna have more than one hit. I think Cardi B is the next female to take over.
Yeah, she has this like badassness to her, like the ratchetness. She's authentically her,
She's
and people love
relatable.
that. Yeah, she's relatable and she's
Mhm.
authentically her, and people love that. Like people feed off of
I
that.
think you definitely either love it or you hate it.
Yeah.
She's got some people that really don't like her. But
Yeah.
like you guys said, if I'm Nicki Minaj, I'm sweating because there has not been a female rapper since Nicki Minaj started that has had such potential to take that spot, that top spot from her. There's been some different female rappers that have come and gone that have definitely been good, but none that nearly have been able to put out a track like Bodak Yellow. And this is the first track that Cardi B has put out. And then you consider her connection with Offset, the things that could lead to, similar to Nicki's connection with Young Money when she started out. Young Money was the top thing then. Now Migos and everything that's connected with them is sort of the hottest thing now.
Yeah, but the only difference is she's signed to Atlantic, and those guys are with QC. So it's a little different in terms of how they could collaborate that way, but that's not going to stop them.
I think that's better for her to be signed to Atlantic too instead of as opposed to Young Money. She probably has less off the cut when it comes to contract. Artist sign another artist sign another artist. That's what Nicki Minaj was in. No matter how she tries to spin it, Wayne, Drake, Birdman, going up for it. She won't have the longevity at the top as Nicki had. But for Nicki, the most important thing is sales and charts. And as we heard from the Remy Ma beef, she just does not care about quality.
Yeah.
But with Cardi in mind, she already had a hit bigger than anything Nicki Minaj put out. And all she has to do is outsell her. And the way that she's going, I feel like that's possible. She can outsell Nicki when it's all said and done because her stock is so low right now, man. Like, she's trying, but she's never going to be as big as her prime.
Yeah.
You think Nicki's out of her prime?
Hell yeah.
Absolutely. I think Nicki's prime was Pink Friday, and that was a long time ago. She was able to kind of extend it with Anaconda, but for the most part, had a couple decent features these last years. It got some decent play, but as far as her own track that really got a lot of traction,
I
not
feel
really.
like I only asked that because I never really thought about it of her being out of her prime because there hasn't been anyone else to challenge her.
Exactly.
Hell, she lost a BET award. She has never lost a female MC of the year, but she lost one to Rayma. That
That's
right
true.
there, to me, that was just the end point of her career.
Yeah.
Because I think she won 7 in a row, 8 in a row, something like that record. Because it was just nobody.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, in comparison, this has nothing to do with hip hop. So, with LeBron's run
I
in
knew
the
he was gonna go
NBA
there.
Finals, he's gone 8 straight times. So, let's say a team like the Celtics or the Wizards or the Heat beats them and makes it to the finals this year. Is that the end of LeBron's prime
For me, because I've said this
or
before,
career?
not in his career. No.
I
Well,
think
okay.
it's the end
But
of
yes,
You
that's
think
how I
so?
feel. I feel like
that's a huge argument for LeBron. Everybody that tries to argue that it's all about rings and everybody that tries to argue that it's all about winning the championship and it's all about rings, you come back with the argument as this guy's been to 8 straight finals. So if he stops doing that, then there's a lot less to argue about. And I'm a huge LeBron fan. I hate even talking about comparing him to Jordan because it takes away from his own greatness, talking about how great of a player that he is. But yeah, I think if that happened, we would definitely be talking about the end of LeBron's prime, especially considering how weak the East is.
Yeah.
We
Fair
can
enough.
get back into that, but I
I
got a
feel
lot
like
to say
the
about
East though, like
But,
yeah,
hey,
the East is weak.
We're
Hold on,
running
hold
out
on,
of
hold on,
time,
hold
so
on.
I don't wanna get too into this. We can talk about this more later. We just got a few more topics to cover in hip hop. The first one I want to talk about last night on the BET Awards, Eminem dropped a serious freestyle. Went in on Donald Trump, went in on just a lot of the pop culture topics as we have known Eminem to do. He's dropping his album. It just came out on Monday. Dropping his album on November 17th. And he's got a single with Pink dropping on Friday called Revenge. Did you guys hear the freestyle?
Oh,
I
yeah.
did.
Oh yeah.
What
Oh.
what do you think? We'll start with Rod.
Is it okay that we can like hand him like a black card?
I'm not
Like-
doing all that, but he's my favorite white guy.
Like-
Yo, is he invited to the barbecue? at
Oh,
least?
he's invited. To
Oh
the
yeah,
barbecue.
that's what I'm saying. Like, so he does have like he's allowed to have the black card. But yesterday definitely cemented it.
Hey man, like Shannon said, there's no such thing as an honorary brother. But hey, that's my guy though.
Okay, but like as far as what he said, do you guys have any thoughts on that?
Oh, you know I'm with them. If
Yeah.
you heard me for these past couple of weeks, I'm down with them.
Well,
Same here.
What about the way he did it and the delivery is a little bit different. Like he sort of took his time and really articulated.
But it was really like Eminem though.
Yeah.
Like no one else could have done it like that.
Yeah.
So it was really like, oh, that's Eminem. Oh, I expected that from Eminem.
Yeah.
In a sense.
Well, what a way to build hype for. I mean, if anybody wasn't excited before, they got to be excited now for
Yeah.
the album and the single dropping on Friday. Last time he put out a track with Pink, it was really, really good. She's good on the hook for him.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll see how that goes. The next topic, Janae Aiko gets Big Sean tattooed on his face. Talk about the For the D challenge. What are you willing to do? Really solidifying their relationship. What did you guys think about that?
What happened to her husband? I mean, I know what happened, but I'm just saying, come on now, man. I don't like this situation. I mean, hey, that's their business. That's cool, whatever. But I'm just saying it's slightly trifling.
There must be something with
Slightly
Big
trifling.
Sean because every girl that he's with seems like they just are head over heels for the dude. When he was with Ariana Grande, everybody was all about that relationship, and it seemed like they were just all about each other. And now with Janae, it's crazy.
Yeah, man. But hey, if this leads to another 2088 album, hey, come with it because I've been waiting.
True.
I love that album, the first album.
The next topic, Kodak Black indicted again, now on more sexual assault charges stemming back to November 2016. He recently did time this last year, as you guys know. If these charges stick, he could be in jail for up to 30 years.
If he did it, goodbye. If he didn't, I feel bad. That's just how I got to put it down. He does not help himself in public perception at all. So it's like, hey, you got to give it to God's plan at this point. But, you know, this kid had the streets. He really did. So, you know, with that much influence, it's going to really hurt the hood. But at the same time, if you did it, goodbye. I'm not saying free him. That's just how I do it.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's ridiculous to say free anybody that actually did a serious crime. I don't know why that's a thing, but if you do a serious crime, you should pay for that.
I think it's just the social norm now. Like if someone goes in that's relatively popular or like relatively good in music, it's free whoever. Like right now it's free TK and
Oh,
he's
we need to
murdered
quit that too.
2 people. So
Yeah.
that's just how it is. But with Kodak situation, that was so long ago and now it's gonna go into trial. So I feel like maybe like this is actually like really serious and maybe he actually did do it. But at the same time, I don't want to see him go in. And I love Kodak as an artist, and I really do hope that he gets out of it, or he didn't do it and gets out of it and continues to make his music.
It would be sad to see his career have to come to an end after such a hot start that he's had. I don't know if he's here to stay for too long just because he's so hot with what's hot right now. I'm not sure how he'd be able to elongate that. He has shown that he can change up his style, though. He's shown a lot of versatility.
I think he has the style to remain.
Yeah. So yeah, it would be disappointing to see it happen, but these kind of things, they take a lot of time. So it could be a year or more before we find out what's going to happen with that. Our next topic, Gilbert Arenas put Mia Khalifa on blast this week on Instagram. She had slid in his DMs 4 times in a row with no response, looking to go out. And he posted it right on Instagram, said, Mia Khalifa would slide in my DM for the D. The thirst is real since Backpage is gone. This bit has no room for negotiations with me. $150 or you better slide into Nelly DM for blank behind Walmart.
Yeah.
Did he go too far? Or was this
this
fair?
was so
No chill
deserving.
kill.
This was so deserving because Mia Khalifa has sort of rose in her popularity, obviously for her own reasons, and also for exposing famous people for trying to slide into her DMs.
Mm-hmm.
And she caught Drake, and she caught former Ole Miss quarterback Chad Kelly, and was really even bashing Isaiah Thomas last year for something else. Isaiah Thomas didn't slide in her DMs or anything, but bashing him for being short when she's shorter than him, so that didn't really make sense. But she's had a history of really bashing athletes and celebrities for trying to slide in her DMs and talk to her, and this was so deserving.
Yeah, so, I mean, I agree. I think it's nice to see, and hopefully it'll shut her up a little bit, get her to quit doing that. Hopefully she learned her lesson. And no chill Gil, man. Wow, he always finds a way to get in the news somehow.
Yeah, he's a character.
So our last topic of the day, short one, just a big congratulations to French Montana and Sway Lee. 1 billion streams already
Man.
for Unforgettable. What an accomplishment for them. They really paired up well on that track. Sway Lee, so young, continues to put up the accolades. And French Montana, I was disappointed in Jungle Rules, but that was a good track.
I mean, I don't expect nothing much from French when it comes to the music tip, but, I just cheer for him personally. Just seeing him, me growing up, watching him in videos with Max B, seeing them in interviews talking about their situation with Dipset back in the day, because I was a huge Dipset fan and all, but I grew to like them as well. I felt a little trifling for that, but I couldn't help it. They were dope, and I felt Max B on that part. But anyway, just seeing him coming up, to seeing where he is now, I'm really proud of him. I'm glad he's been working hard like this because he's deserving. He's a guy that came from nothing, and he just always kept focused, so shout outs to him, man. And Sway Lee, that little dude the GOAT. So I rocks with him, too.
Hey, I couldn't have put it better myself. It's a good way to end the show for today. Thanks for tuning in, guys. Like I said, we've got our NBA preview coming up on Monday. That's something you really don't want to miss. We're going to put a lot of analysis into it. We're going to get down and talk about every single team in the NBA and our expectations, strengths and weaknesses, and a little bit more about the news that we didn't cover today in the NBA over the past week. So be sure to tune in again. Once again, thank you. We really appreciate you guys tuning in. We hope that you enjoy the content, and any sort of feedback that you think would be relevant, please don't hesitate to comment on the video, comment on the pages, just get involved. We'd love to hear from you.